Following on from last week where we were looking at soil texture and soil structure, today we're looking at soil pH, which is the chemistry of your soil. So what we need to know is, why do we need to understand pH? Well, pH actually tells us the positively charged hydrogen ion levels in the soil, which basically means how a soil releases and holds on to nutrients. If we know the pH, we know what we can do to adjust it to ensure that nutrients are released at the right level for our plants. How do we test our pH? Well, very simple. We can purchase a colorimetric test kit, only cost you about 30 bucks, and we have here a good soil, which I showed you last week, beautiful vegetable garden soil. I just take a small sample of the soil. To that I use the universal indicator. I put a few drops of indicator onto the soil, and then I'll lightly just mix that in so that we get a good contact with all the soil particles in there. And once that's mixed, as you can see there, it's done a nice job. I then use the barium sulfate, which I just dust across the top of that soil, and we will get a chemical reaction. Now you can see here that reaction, we're getting a change in colour on that soil surface. I then take the colour chart, and I just need to work my way around the colour chart until we get to the soil colour that meets closely to what this soil is. So we can see there it's looking roughly at a 7 to a 7.5. So this soil is a little bit alkaline. 7 is neutral on the pH scale, anything below 7 is acid, and anything above 7 is alkaline or a sweet soil. So this is a fairly sweet soil. I probably would like to acidify this to get it down to around about 6.5. So how do I change the pH of my soil? Well, it's easy. I can use various types of ameliorants, and to lower the pH of the soil, I'm going to go with some sulfur. Sulfur applied at the local rates gradually over time is going to reduce the soil pH to becoming a little bit more acidic, and at 6.5 pH it's going to have all the available nutrients I need for my plants to grow well. If, on the other hand, my soil was already acidic and it was, say, below 6 or around about 5, and I want it to become sweeter, I would use a liming agent. Now, you could use garden lime, which is going to raise the pH of your soil. But with garden lime, I find that works fairly harshly. It's a very quick response, a bit of a shotgun response. I'd prefer to use something a little bit softer, which is dolomite. Dolomite is a liming agent. It works a little bit slower than what lime will, but it also has the added benefit of additional magnesium in there. It's actually magnesium calcium carbonate. And if I don't want the pH to change, but I want to try and improve the soil structure, I can use some gypsum, which is calcium sulfate. So it won't change the pH, but it will help improve the structure of your soil. Whereas the other two elements, the lime and the dolomite, will change your pH, but they'll also help flocculate the clay particles in your soil to bind those particles to make better PEDs and aggregates, giving better drainage and aeration. So a little bit of chemistry in the garden. The unfortunate thing is, if you're colourblind, these colorimetric test kits aren't going to work for you. So make sure that you get the right one. If you haven't got a colorimetric test kit, maybe look at taking a sample into your local nursery. They might be able to test it for you using a probe meter. Australian native plants are a go-to in any garden, and these ones particularly show off well. This is a grevillea, and the grevilleas come in a range of plant types. We have ground cover grevilleas, the shrub type grevilleas, and going into the taller shrubs, and in some cases trees. These plants are perfect for attracting birds into your garden, and they come in a whole variety of different colour types. Firecrackers with its bold red and yellow, and here we have the new blood. As the name implies, you can see those gorgeous red flowers are going to bring the birds in any time of the year. Moving down into some of the other plants, corymbia. This is an orange variety of corymbia, a grafted plant. These are the West Australian flowering gums. They come in a variety of colours, but you can never have enough orange in the garden. Further to this, there's some gorgeous grey leaf plants, and these are fantastic in our soils here in Kiama. They grow well because they are salt tolerant, being a grey leaf plant. This is Eremophila. Eremophila, a fantastic shrub. Keep it lightly pruned through the growing season and it'll produce these gorgeous purple flowers for you over the spring season. Another wonderful plant is the Myoporum or Eriostemon. These plants are in the Rutaceae family, so they're very similar to an orange in the same family. They've got a gorgeous scent to the foliage. When you crush the leaves like that and smell, you're going to get this really nice cinnamony, citrusy smell in the garden, and these lovely little white wax flowers are going to be a real attraction to some of the smaller pollinators that you need to bring in to keep our gardens biodiverse. Australian natives, you can't go wrong. Another Australian native that you might want to put in your garden is the waratah, the New South Wales floral emblem. This plant is an absolute stunner. Corroboree, ideal for a good free draining soil, and if you have a bit of a shady space in your garden and you still want a waratah, why not go with Shady Lady? This one works really well in those dappled light conditions. And a gorgeous white flowering waratah, Wild Brumby. So all of these plants will grow well in our soils. They do need good drainage. One thing I love to do is put my waratahs onto a brick and then plant them on the brick and mound the soil up around the plant so that we ensure really good drainage. Waratahs are a fantastic addition to any native garden. Kangaroo paws are one Australian native plant that you must have in your garden. These plants just keep on giving. They produce these gorgeous long spiked racemes of flowers that make excellent cut flowers, bring birds into the garden and keep on producing for nearly 9 months of the year. They grow from these beautiful fan-shaped leaves at the base, and the good thing about them is that they come in a wide range of colours. You can get them in yellows, reds, oranges and even a blue flowering form and pink ones. They do have some problems though. You might find a little bit of ink spot or fungal disease where the leaves will blacken off, and sometimes the flowers may actually become a little bit desiccated from fungal problems. Key to this is just prune those flowers out right down to the base and avoid overhead watering the crown of the plant. Water around the base and they should be disease free. Fertilise them in spring and throughout the growing season with some dynamic lifter and they'll keep on giving. So if you want something good in your garden, kangaroo paw. Hop to it.